Hello. This is Philip Carr-Gomm. Welcome to another Tea with a Druid, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovids and Druids. It's lovely to see everybody arriving in the forest clearing from all sorts of different directions, from Crouch End to Arizona to California, Johannesburg, North Germany, New York. It's fantastic. Yes. So I'm here up in Edinburgh, and as everybody's arriving and settling, I'm settling too, because if any of you have been to Edinburgh at the time of the Edinburgh Festival, you'll know that it's an extraordinary kind of carnival of busyness. Thousands of people in the town, thousands of acts and comedy and theatre and musical and opera. So it's an extraordinary experience, really. It's a sort of complete opposite experience to a retreat, I suppose. A retreat where you go away and you connect deep within, and you're deliberately reducing the amount, perhaps, of sensory input, or certainly changing it by going to the country and so on. Here, it's urban, it's busy, and as a holiday, of course, it's wonderful, because in a similar way to a retreat, it's just hugely different to certainly our everyday life. I think most people's everyday life. So in terms of a change being as good as a rest, it certainly works. It's also quite disorienting at another level, just because so much is happening around you, but it's tremendous fun. So I was tuning in. What I do is I sit down just before we start, and I really tune in and sense us all gathering in this big circle, and really just ask for what we need and what's right and what would be good and so on. And what I realized, what came to me, is this. It's a very simple idea, really. It's just as, the way when we meet, we say, "How are you?" And it's such an ordinary thing to say. It's like, yeah, hi, I'm doing fine, even though you're not, or whatever. It's a cliche and so on. But I think it points to a very fundamental feature of the human spirit, which is the idea behind saying, "How are you?" is that you are genuinely interested in how the other person is. When somebody says, "How are you?" imagine, it's different from meeting people in the street, say, "Hey, hi, how are you? How are you? How are you?" But you're sitting with a friend, maybe somebody you haven't seen for years, and you sit down, you haven't seen them for years, you have a deep heart connection, and they just look straight into your eyes and they say, "How are you? How are you doing?" And you can open up to them. You can know that you can tell them about the bad times as well as the good times, and it's heartfelt and it's sincere. And I think the fact that this is the standard kind of greeting that we use for each other is really significant. It shows that we do care, and most people do care. The fact that they may not be good listeners, the fact that we're also distracted, we may not feel like giving or be able to give a full heartfelt answer, or indeed listen to somebody else's heartfelt answer, is another question. That's about how we've arranged our lives and how society is. But just imagine, drop in now, drop into yourself, as it were, rather than being distracted by the screen or what's been happening. And this is just for you, and you don't have to share this, so it's okay. So you just say, "How are you? How are you doing?" And then just get what the response is, and get where it's coming from as well, because we can get different answers from different parts of ourselves. Your body can be saying, "Oh, I'm feeling pretty rough at the moment, actually," whereas your heart may be saying something different, and your spirit may be saying. So how are you? How are you? How are you doing? And then, having got some sense of that, and this is just like this isn't to kind of dig deep. This is just an orientation. This just gets you into the present, gets you into your body, gets you into how you're feeling, where you're at in your consciousness. And now a second question, which is, what would you like to share of that? It's like, what part of that would you like to share now, if it feels right? Just a part of it, one of the feelings, one of the thoughts. And then if you feel like it, just tap it in. And we've got Luna saying unsettled, tired, sad and happy at the same time. Only 2 months of the Druid grade left. We'll miss the Guerci. Yes, somebody once wrote a poem about about these brown envelopes arriving and the kind of pleasure that they got from that and the inspiration. My heart is calm and relaxed. The storm outside blowing. Magical, says Patricia. Pleasantly grateful. Irritated at the flying gnats. That's so content after a weekend Lunacy gathering. Lovely. Tired after camp, but never better. Yes, there's been Druid camps going on. Physically a bit of a mess. I'm sorry to hear that. Mixed. My body a bit shaken up, but my heart as warm as ever. Motivated. Grieving. Always better when I tune into Tea with a Druid. I didn't realize we'd started. I'm feeling very connected to friends despite physical distance. My body is complaining, happy after a trip to the park, excited, feeling well for a change. Hooray. Love you all, says David. Thank you, David. Experiencing feelings of not knowing what the future holds and yet experiencing synchronicities of support and encouragement, trusting. Functioning, but unhappy underneath. Feeling stir crazy in life, but refreshed by being outside. Blessed in love, but lacking in direction. So, I don't know whether you find this, but there's something about hearing how other people are feeling helps me to clarify how I'm feeling and enriches me. So when we ask somebody, how are you? That the reality is we're not just asking because we're concerned about the other person. We're asking, how are you? Because there's a way in which, if the other person responds sincerely, we are enriched. And then we have to be careful, because you can even have this thing, this wonderful word, Schadenfreude, which means German for, if I'm right, it means, I don't know the literal translation, but it means taking pleasure in other people's suffering. And of course, that's what a lot of the kind of media and the news and all the rest of it, there's this sort of kind of weird kind of kick we can get out of, oh, well, thank God it's not me. I can see you're having a terrible time. Thank God I'm not having as bad a time as you, and so on, But we must be careful not to completely dismiss what's going on there, because there's something sobering about hearing about somebody else's suffering if you haven't experienced it or you're not going through it. And I think you can be simultaneously deeply empathic and sympathetic and caring about the other person and grateful that it's not happening to you. I mean, this is kind of what happens when you go to hospital, isn't it? When you visit a hospital, there's that incredibly sobering effect where you feel for the people you see in the wards and so on. And then maybe at the same time, you feel grateful that you're not as ill as they are. So it doesn't have to be something kind of horrid, a kind of horrid Schadenfreude. But it's interesting how we can kind of unpick this and realize what's going on and not be tough on ourselves. We're so tough on ourselves that we can kind of beat ourselves up about these different levels of thoughts we have. And Heidi says, I truly agree with that. When others are transparent and vulnerable, I truly feel connected and appreciate the ability to be there for another. And if you're feeling kind of more stable and together than they are at the time, you can appreciate the fact that maybe you're a bit of a rock that they can lean against, and that it always feels good to be of use to somebody, and to be helpful and to be kind and all that stuff. And if you're feeling as bad as they are, or worse, then there's a kind of camaraderie and rapport, and you say, God, yes, I know, I'm going through that too, or whatever it is. So yes. So yes. Using there's somebody said here, using others' emotions as a kind of measuring stick to see if we are or aren't in tune. Yes, maybe that's going on. There's something that triggers for me, which is this question of emotional literacy, and it's used, for instance, with say particularly with people who've offenders, people who young. I've read about it in the context of young men who are offenders who have anger issues and all that. And one of the things that can be really helpful is teaching these young men the range of emotions, so that that to start with, they have quite a limited kind of vocabulary within of how they feel. There's just rage or desire or whatever, just a few kind of raw emotions. But when you help them tease out the difference between irritation, frustration, anger, rage, hurt, resentment, all these different feelings, they can then start to moderate their responses, and which helps them and helps society too. So yes, so thank you for sharing that. Jasmine is saying the Finnish vahingonilo would translate to joy of misfortune, very similar to Schadenfreude, I think. Yes. Yeah. So Beth is saying, so true. When I was a teacher, it was one of my favorite activities, helping young people in the language of emotion. Lovely. Andrew Smith. My mother died many years ago, about a year after a friend's mother. Listening to my friend talk about her experience was very therapeutic too. Exactly. I remember ringing up a friend when my mum had died, and I was having, obviously a lot of emotions around it. I rang up a friend whose mother had recently died too, because I knew that he'd been in the same place as me, and there's something very supportive in that. So now we're at the time of moving, certainly in the northern hemisphere. We're moving from Lammas Lunasa to the autumn equinox, this lovely kind of golden period of the harvest. And it's this time of opening to gratitude, opening to thanks for being in the world. And it's so easy for us, for those of us who are immersed in Druidry, in paganism, in sort of nature spirituality, to attach to the eightfold wheel of the year as being 8 specific times that we celebrate. We celebrate Lunasa. We maybe do a ceremony with friends or with our local grove, or if we're more contemplative, we do a meditation to tune into this particular time. And then there's 6 weeks, and then it's the autumn equinox, and then there'll be 6 weeks and it's Samhain and all the rest of it. And I think what's so interesting, once you've bedded that down, once you understand the model of the wheel of the year, and in the Obod training, in that first year, or in the Bardic experience, we get to know these 8 times of year specifically. And once we've done that, what's so interesting, and it's a work of a lifetime really, is that we can then start to also tune in to the kind of wider sweeps of energy, the great long sweep. And if you think about the wide sweep of what we're in now, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, is that from the summer solstice, for half the year, all the way around to the winter solstice, it's the cycle of dissemination, of shedding, of dispersion, dispersion, whatever the word is. From the winter solstice, the rebirth of the sun at the winter solstice, the light is growing. The relationship between the sun and the earth is increasing. The days grow longer and longer and longer. The forces of nature get stronger. Stuff starts to grow up in the spring, and then to the highest point, the zenith of the year at the summer solstice. So that's the energy, and one of the kind of ways we can work with it is to tune in with that and to kind of synchronize ourselves with this energy and to flow with this energy to this time of full manifestation at the time of the summer solstice. But then for the next half of the year, it's very, very, very gently dropping down. The nights are gently getting shorter, but almost imperceptibly shorter and shorter and shorter, like that, until suddenly we notice as we get towards the winter solstice, crikey, it's 4 p.m. and it's dark outside. I mean, now it's, well, what is it? It's 8:20, and you can see the sun's shining in Edinburgh, and it's just absolutely lovely. And so tuning into these wider, so that's the big kind of current, the energetic current that's going on. And then what happens from just after the summer solstice, you get lunar first around the beginning of August, the first fruits, the first harvest. And I don't know what's happening out there because I haven't been out of the city, but if we're down in Sussex, you'd start to see the combine harvesters out and so on. And depending on the weather, I mean, they wouldn't be actually because it's pouring with rain a lot in the south at the moment. But gradually the first harvest is beginning, and this goes on for about 6 weeks. And so we have this opportunity for tuning into the harvest, for feeling grateful for our lives, for feeling grateful for all those things that have happened to us, and harvesting kind of lessons and memories. There are two forces conspiring against memory. One is the contemporary kind of whirlwind of media and events and things that happen in such quantity and at such speed. It's like you haven't got time to remember all the kind of nice things that happened early in the year because you're hurtling into new stuff all the time, and that's exactly what's happening here in Edinburgh at the moment. But in a general sense, if you're kind of in tune with what's happening in the world, there's this vast amount of events occurring, and the consumer society is all about kind of what's it called, neophilia, the love of the new. Come on, buy this new thing, get this new thing, have this new experience. You mean you've never been snowboarding before? Go snowboarding, book yourself on a trip, do this. It's new. So that conspires against memory. But the other thing that conspires against memory is the fad for mindfulness. This is being unfair to mindful enthusiasts, and I'm exaggerating. But see what you think. Does this make sense, or am I being really unfair? But the thing that, the power of now, Eckhart Tolle, wonderful stuff, so true. One of the reasons why we can be miserable is because we keep pulling ourselves out of the now. We worry about the future, or we ruminate on the past. Drop into the now, just breathe, just be now, open. Your consciousness can open to the now. And that's all you need. That's cool. But as Beth says, it's exhausting. Well, I didn't know whether you're referring to that or not. Beth, I'm not sure. You might have been talking about the whirlwind of outer distractions. But mindfulness can be exhausting too, constantly forcing yourself to be in the present, super attentive to the present, without letting your mind stray into the past or the future. I happen to love thinking about the past and the future. I love planning. I love thinking about where we're going to be in December and January and all the rest of it. And you get invitations to come to Italy next summer. Yes, we'd love to, and so on. So I love thinking about the future, and I love thinking about the past. And so I don't want to be permanently fixed in the present. And in fact, there's a book by a Russian psychiatrist or neuroscientist called Luria, and it was about a small book about a man who had a brain injury or problem, where he was only in the present all the time. So every time Professor Luria visited him in the psychiatric hospital, he would have to introduce himself as a new person because the guy couldn't remember who he was. And he worked with him for 10 years. Every day it would be, and who are you? Oh, I'm Professor Luria, and they'd have to start from the beginning again. And that's the theme in some cheesy romantic novel. Is it The Notebooks? Isn't that the thing? Anybody who's read The Notebooks? It's about an older couple, and she suffers from dementia. But the twist in the book was that whenever they met, whenever he went to visit her, it was like she was in love with him for the first time. So it was rather a nice kind of spin on it, if I remember the book correctly. So here's the thing: Druidry isn't as exclusive as mindfulness. I'd like to suggest that those of us who are following the Druid way totally get the mindfulness thing. We get it. We know that opening to the present moment is terribly important, and it's something to do. And being in the now is cool and helpful spiritually. However, and I can see Heidi is saying, I think she's saying the same thing. I have a lot of friends who've told me to just move on and be in the now, but I've been processing through the deeply impactful events of the last year because they will not stop coming up in my dream time. So I need to spend harvesting lessons, as you say. Thank you. Yes, exactly. There's a reason why we have the function of memory, and it can be a curse. It can be problematic. Memories can be hugely difficult, and of course, psychotherapy and psychoanalysis and so on works with difficult memories. But the point is, they're also this extraordinary gift, and they enrich us. And that's why we can learn so much from people who are older than us, because they have so many more memories. And I was just so lucky to meet Nguyen, the old chief druid, but back in, I don't know, 50 years ago or something like that. And I was lucky enough to encounter in my life various mentors who were older than me, old men essentially, and I learnt so much from them just by listening and hearing them recount the stories of their life and their learnings and so on. So this time of year is a time for celebrating memories. As we move from Lammas round to the autumn equinox, we're moving in the directions. We're moving towards the west, the place of the setting sun, the place of recollection and of memory. There's something about a sunset that evokes, you sit there and there's an association with memory and beauty. So let's do that now. Let's have a meditation where we just drop into that frame of mind. So if you want to do this meditation, you might like to lower your gaze or close your eyes and just become aware of being in the sacred circle. Gradually just allowing yourself to feel centered and calm, seated on the earth, might be leaning against a tree trunk perhaps, mossy ground beneath you. Sensing the tree roots deep in the earth, the trunks of the trees soaring up into the sky. Sensing the companionship of our brothers and sisters, the trees. And we sense, as we lean against our tree or sit beside the trees, we sense how they are holders of memory. Each ring within their trunk records a year of their lives. And we give thanks for the blessing of their age, of their wisdom, of their memories. And you become aware of the earth And you become aware of the sky too. You feel the energy of the earth stabilizing and balancing you. It's healing energy flowing up into you. And you breathe in deeply and fully and feel the energy of the sky vitalizing you, energizing you as you breathe in. The energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And there's an exercise that we do in the orders work and training, which I'll share with you now, which is we take a stone. It's so simple. It's just, you imagine that you just become aware of the fact that there's a nice sized stone. It's not a tiny little stone. It's not a huge stone. It's just the right size that you can pick up. It's near to you. You can just stretch out your hand and pick it up. And it has a weight to it. You can feel its weight. And as you pick it up, you just tune in to its weight. And as you move it towards you, just really appreciate this weight. And you might like to hold it in your lap, perhaps against the solar plexus, or just wherever you like. If you want to, and you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but if you want, just, it feels right. Just and appreciate the weight in this stone. And find yourself saying to the stone, I really appreciate your weight. This sense of heaviness or weight in you is a very beautiful quality, and I appreciate this. And just allow your awareness to focus on this weight, just letting everything just fall away and just focusing on this sensation of weight. And allow this sense to bring you to a sense of centeredness, of groundedness. And then find yourself saying to the stone, you are a guardian of memory. You hold memories. You've seen so much, experienced so much in your life. I respect that. And I thank you for being a guardian of memory. And then allow the stone perhaps to trigger this, or just being open to allowing one memory to arise up, a memory that's appropriate for you now to work with. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It can just be something that happened to you today or recently. Just, I give thanks for this memory. It's going to come to me. And you might have lots of memories clamoring for attention. So just allow one, just choose one. Say, just for the, you can always do this exercise again. And however hard it is, I give thanks for this memory. There's a way in which this memory is a part of my life, a part of the landscape of my soul, just as the way this stone is part of this landscape too. It has a weight. It has a consistency to it. Don't think about this too much. Just allow the memory to be there. And now gently put the stone down, giving thanks to it. And imagine placing your hands on the earth and saying, the earth, you have so many memories contained, memories of suffering, of joy, of beauty, I give thanks for all of these memories. Bless you, dear Earth. These memories make you who you are. And then gradually let your hands drift out and hold the hand to either side of you, and you feel the solidarity of all of us sitting in the circle, knowing that as you hold the hands of this circle of people, each of us has this extraordinary storehouse of memories. Such richness. Good memories, bad memories, difficult memories, joyful memories, just lots and lots. A blessing on all of our lives. May all this richness in this time of harvest, just like fruit, some of this richness will just disappear into the earth and rot away like fruit that's fallen from a tree. Some of the seeds will grow and more will come from as a result of these experiences. A whole tapestry of vivid life. We give thanks for all of these. A squeeze to each hand on either side of you. Then you might want to move your hands to your heart, feeling the warmth in your heart. And as you do this, you become aware of your physical body seated in front of your screen, and your awareness of being in the circle together begins to fade. May our lives be blessed. May all life be blessed. May the earth be blessed. And gradually you become aware of being seated in front of your screen, and you open your eyes and see yourself here, or experience yourself here. I'm just looking at all the comments, lots of lovely comments. Let's see. This memory has lasted through lifetimes, a part of the very fabric of my soul. I thank the stones for keeping that moment safe. David Jones, this book was featured in one of Philip's blogs, The Gospel of Falling Down, The Beauty of Failure in an Age of Success. Might be a good read for those feeling vulnerable. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry, whoops, beep there. Yes, so good to be with you. I never want to leave. I always want to spend lots of time with you, but I know we all have commitments and things to do, and so many have a lovely week. And next week I'll be back in Lewes in Sussex, and I very much look forward to seeing you. So many blessings and lots of love, and do keep writing the comments, because I'm going to make a cup of tea and then read your comments. Okay, bye.